We
Oh,
do
there
have
it
a
is.
Zoom.
Okay.
by the way.
All right, we're going to call the Finance Committee to order on February 5th, 2025. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Thibodeau? Here. Alderman Govea is here. Alderman Moran? Yeah. Moran not here. Alderwoman Timmons?
Here.
Alderman Clemmons? Here. Alderman Clee?
Here.
Mayor Donchis?
Here. Thank you. Public comment? Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak to the Finance Committee about any of the agenda items? But there's no one here, so I assume no. We'll move to communications, first being from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to one-time purchase of time clocks in the amount of $120,705.75 funded from capital improvements, 81 capital outlay / improvements, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of UKG InTouch DX time clocks with UKG Chrono Systems LLC in the amount of $120,705.75. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology Fund Capital Improvements / 81 Capital Outlay Improvements.
Mr. Mysovich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is what I presented to the board on a couple different occasions when we were looking to get the capital improvements funding. So to recap, this is to replace all the time clocks in all the city buildings, school districts included, to gear up for when Kronos will move to the cloud.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to software subscription services in the amount of $118,020 annually funded from general fund / 55 other services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 5-year contract renewal for the continued operation of UKG software subscription services with UKG Chrono Systems LLC in the amount of $118,020 annually. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Fund, General Fund / 55 other services.
Go ahead.
All right, this is to migrate our Workforce Central solution that's currently on-prem to the cloud. It will be the Workforce Pro version due to the complexity of our environment. We cannot go with the lower ready version. We have to upgrade to this this version, and this fee is going to be the annual subscription fee for the next 5 years. It's locked in at that rate.
All right. I don't see anybody. Alderman Clemmons.
Is this a 5-year contract?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to integrated UKG workforce / telestaff migration services for on-premise to pro cloud solutions in the amount of $160,000 funded from capital improvements, SURF and general fund, 53 professional and technical services, and 81 capital outlay improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for migration services from separate on-premise installations to UKG Pro and UKG Telestaff to the cloud with Mosaic Consulting Group in the amount of $160,000. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Funds, Capital Improvements, 81, Capital Outlay / Improvements, $29,294.25. SURF, 81, Capital Outlay / Improvements, $23,503.14, and General Fund, 53, Professional and Technical Services, $107,202.61.
Nick?
One item got skipped. Are we going out of order?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you did, yeah.
That's okay.
Well, let's just,
Go back.
yeah,
That's
we'll go
fine.
back.
Okay, there was one more at the bottom, yep.
Okay, no, that's fine. This one is for the actual migration services to the cloud from on-prem, and it includes both the Workforce Central and the Telestaff applications, as well as pointing all the time clocks to the cloud solution.
All right. Alderwoman Clee.
So this is just the actual migration of it? This is
Correct.
not like a 5-year annual?
Correct, no,
Okay.
this is one and done.
Just one and done. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question about the, kind of the funding sources here. It says that we have money going from SURF on here. Where was that in the SURF plan? Guess I don't remember seeing anything in our SURF plan about putting money into a project like this.
This is using up the funds that were allocated to the disaster recovery site. So just to get that funding source closed up before the end of the fiscal year, so it could be closed out, and so finance does not have to carry it over for another reason.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll go back
Yep.
now. Alderman Govea.
Communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regard to software subscription in the amount of $33,108 annually funded from General Fund 55 Other Services. I'll make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 5-year renewal contract for the continued operation of UKG Telestaff for Fire and Police Department software subscription services with UKG Chrono Systems LLC in the amount of $33,108 annually. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Fund, General Fund /55 Other Services.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
This one is for, like the Workforce Central, this is the Telestaff piece, to get those two applications from on-prem to the hosted cloud solution. And since we are going with the Pro for Workforce Central, the three actually will be integrated, so all users will be logging into the same interface going forward, and Fire and PD will be able to not only see their time card in Chronos, but also see the interface from Telestaff with their schedules that they're used to seeing. So they can swap, they'll be able to swap back and forth under a single pane of glass.
All right. Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mysovich. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Govea.
In regard to WWTF fire alarm upgrade residential engineering in the amount of $27,200, funded from wastewater capital project /81, capital outlay and improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for residential construction services for the fire alarm upgrade project with Wright Pierce in the amount of $27,200. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater, fund wastewater capital project /81, capital outlay improvements.
Did we skip one again?
Pardon?
No? Okay.
Mr. Boucher?
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So this is for the fire alarm upgrade at the wastewater facility to utilize Wright Pierce for the inspection and residential construction oversight during the project. They would be inspecting Minuteman, the Minuteman Security and Life Safety Company as they do their installs. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? Alderman Thibodeau.
So these are the people, so we voted for the larger bill a few weeks ago to actually fund the project. This is to fund the company that's going to watch them during the process?
Correct, at the facility. So they'll be inspecting to make sure it was installed correctly according to the plans.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Govea.
In regard to construction administration for the WWTF fire alarm upgrades in the amount of $49,400, funded from wastewater fund /55 other services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for the construction administration phase services for the fire alarm upgrade project in the amount of $49,400. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater fund / 55 other services.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is also for the fire alarm upgrade. Vertex is the company that did the original drawings, also did the bid oversight. We'd like to use them for the construction administrative phase services. This includes reviewing the contract submittals, the invoices, any change orders that might occur, resolving any construction issues, and also providing the O&M manual at the end of the project. So we'd like to use them for their services. Be happy to answer any questions.
Alderwoman Clee.
Just clarification, so this is just the, you're saying construction administration, this is just to administer the contract and to make sure that everything is on a timely basis versus the previous one, which was making sure that the work itself was being done properly? Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct. This company is based out of Florida. They do have an inspection team in Florida and all that, but most of the money would be used up in the travel costs. So that's why we opted to use a local engineering service company that has the same capabilities. They'll be working with Vertex on this. So this is to cover the admin portion, the invoicing and all that, looking over all the data that's submitted back to them by Wright Pierce engineers.
And just for the public, we use this third party just simply, rather than doing it in-house, simply because we just don't have staff and so on.
Well, this is a professional company that's experienced in fire alarm upgrades, and they designed the whole project.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Phase 1 upgrades, project final design and bidding phase services in the amount of $850,550, funded from wastewater fund / 53, professional and technical services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract to provide final design plans, specifications, and bidding services for the Phase 1 upgrade project with Wright Pierce in the amount of $850,550. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater fund / 53, professional and technical services.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is part of our 20-year plan to upgrade the facility and maintain the facility, the existing infrastructure. It was broken up into 3 phases. Phase 1 includes a lot of renovations throughout the facility. We're doing a lot of tank repairs, expanding our bulk storage area so we can hold more chlorine on site. Renovations to our pump building, which includes the HVAC system. It's a 3-story pump building. Also doing replacements throughout the facility, replacing several large gates throughout the facility, large valves throughout the facility, and also replacing 2 of our underground flow meters. So Wright Pierce is the company that did the preliminary design for this project. We'd like to use them for doing the final design and bid oversight for this project as well. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boucher. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Amendment 1 for the 2024 Pavement Management Engineering Services in the amount of $300,000, funded from bond / 53, professional and technical services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the engineering services Amendment 1 for the 2024 Pavement Management Engineering Services with Hayner Swanson in the amount of $300,000. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin / Engineering, Fund Bond 53, Professional and Technical Services.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. So as the communication states, this is looking for amendment with Hayner Swanson, they're a local engineering firm. This amendment is going to be for the observation and some of the administration for our paving program. I would like to make note that a couple communications down, there's actually 2 change orders on this agenda tonight that will be our paving program, and I'd like to touch on some of those because this amendment is going to support those contracts. The first change order is going to be change order 6 with Continental Paving. This is approximately 3.2 miles of collector and arterial roadways. Continental has been able to hold their pricing from 2023, within our purchasing policies. And then the subsequent contract is change order 5 to the paving contract number 2 from 2023. Likewise, the other contractor, Sunshine Paving, has been able to hold their prices from 23 within our purchasing policies. And that contract looks to resurface about 10.8 miles of residential roadways. So to circle back to the communication before you, this is the engineering to help out with our annual paving program. Happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just overall speaking, the project as a whole, is it on budget? Is it over budget? Where do we stand right now?
So if I could take you back to 2017, the city embarked on a 10-year paving plan. That was bonded each year at about $7.5 million. So right now we are kind of on the back end of that. To give you, so I guess the long story short, we're on budget, we're well within budget for what we planned for. To give you the results, we do hire a third-party engineer to go around and they survey a third of the city every year to kind of get a grade of the city. So we were about 65. And that's the PCI score, that's kind of the condition index. So right now, we're at about an 83, and we are tracking towards our target with the bond, the 10-year bond set out for. So long story short, we are in budget and we are tracking to our goals.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor, and this is contract amendment 1, right? What we're voting on right now.
Correct.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2025 sewer replacement project, contract 1 in the amount of $810,830, funded from bond/54 property services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a construction contract for the 2025 sewer replacement project to Crisp Contracting in the amount of $810,830. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin/Engineering Fund Bond/54 Property Services.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. So this is the first contract for our sewer program. This went out to competitive bid. We received bids in January. We did receive 4 bids, with the lowest being Crisp Contracting. They are a local contractor. We have worked with them a good amount in the past, and we do recommend awarding this contract to them. This contract specifically, this looks to go ahead and install manholes and covers to help our lining program. So sometimes you have a summit manhole where there's no access in order to line a pipe, and instead of digging it and saving money, you have to have 2 access points. So this is going to add that access point so they can go in, put the liner in, and that comes through our lining process. So this is kind of a precursor to that lining contract as well. And this is all throughout the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions for this.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In our sewer replacement project, how far along are we in this? Because we're looking at the entire city, correct? Is that,
So we do CCTV
Right.
a certain point every year. It's a revolving door. You're never quite done. We've been averaging, I think, about 50,000 to 80,000 linear feet. So we're getting through our network. We're trying to start in the inner city and work our way out where things are older. We have had positive review of that video where we're able to line a significant amount of the pipes versus going and trenching in. But as a status, I don't really have a litmus of exactly where we stand, because unlike a roadway, you can see a roadway, you can see it's cracked, the pipes are below the road. Until you get a camera down there, you don't know exactly what's going on. But we have surveyed the majority of our city, and we'll come and bring sewer replacement contracts as we see fit.
May I?
Yes.
I thank you very much for that answer. I really appreciate it. And I know, as Alderman Dowd says, the known unknown type of thing. And I know even like when you've worked on Orange Street or Manchester Street, some of our really older streets and so on, that you get in there, you may think it's okay until you get in there, only to find out that it's crumbling and it's less than optimum for this type of lining. When that happens, do you then have to stop and do a replacement, or do you kind of put it on hold and so?
Yep, no, understood. It all depends. There's no straightforward answer. So the lining, we go through a PACP, which is a certified process to go and grade these pipes as we see the video, and based on how bad they are, so to speak, it's whether they get recommended for lining or replacement. A lot of times what we would do is if there's a hole in the pipe and everything else looks good, we'll go in and we'll replace that one section, which is typically 10 feet, give or take, and that's a point repair versus a total rebuild of the sewer system. We haven't found a significant amount of total rebuilds, which is good news for the city because that can be very costly because you're ripping up the whole street. Orange Street was actually a total rebuild. But as we go in, the video is a pretty good indication of what we're going to find. And then typically you just, if you have to go a couple more feet, you have to go a couple more feet, and that's all kind of taken care of, if that makes sense.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order 6 for the paving program, contract 1 in the amount of $1,897,880, funded from Bond 54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 6 for the paving program contract with Continental Paving Incorporated in the amount of $1,897,880. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin/Engineering, Fund Bond 54 Property Services.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. So this is contract 1, change order 6. I did allude to this a couple moments ago. This is with Continental Paving. As I said before, they are willing to hold their prices within our purchasing policies from 2023. This is going to go ahead and resurface arterial and collective roadways to the tune of 3.2 miles. Continental has been with us since 2023. They've done a great job thus far. They've handled all of Main Street if you've driven up and down there, and we believe this is in the best interest of the city, and we recommend award of this change order.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication, again from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order 5 for the paving program contract 2 in the amount of $4,735,704.75, funded from Bond, Trust, and Wastewater/54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 5 for the paving program with Sunshine Paving Corporation in the amount of $4,735,704.75. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin/Engineering Fund, Bond 54 Property Services, $3,920,704.75. Wastewater/54 Property Services, $400,000, and Contribution Trust Fund /54 Property Services, $415,000.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. So likewise, as the previous communication, I already kind of touched on this briefly, but this is looking for change order 5 of the 23 contract 2 with Sunshine Paving Corporation. This is going to be our residential contract that's going to target the local roads. This looks to pave about 10.8 miles, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, can you explain why some of the money's coming from wastewater?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple funding breaking out, but a part of the paving process, we go through all the structures. Those get replaced and the manholes get rebuilt. So that piece of those items, that's where the wastewater money goes towards.
Oh, okay, perfect.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication, again from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Turf Tank 2 Pro package subscription in the amount of $15,996 annually funded from General Fund 54 Property Services. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 3-year lease subscription of a 2025 Turf Tank with Turf Tank in the amount of $15,996 annually. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Funds, General Fund /54 Property Services.
Mr. Conant?
Good evening, everyone. Brian Conant, Superintendent of the Parks Department. This is for an autonomous paint lining machine meant for athletic fields. This is going to greatly enhance the efficiency of the department. We're very excited about bringing this in and adding it to our arsenal, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually was looking through the packet and saw this one, and it kind of stood out to me a little bit more than others. So this is autonomously done, correct?
It is. It's going to be done through GPS locations. After we acquire the machine, we'll come here and we'll have an implementation day. We'll take it out to each park where we normally line athletic fields, soccer fields, and various other things. Those coordinates will get gathered, and from there you'll be able to take the machine out, bring it to the certain park you want to do, and create what you need to create.
Yes.
That sounds way more efficient than sending a crew of guys to go line a field. But to follow up off of that, so this is a lease program. Do they sell these outright, or is it just lease at this point?
So you do have the option to buy at any point during the lease. I think it's wise for us to lease it because of the software upgrades that happen at least twice a year, when I've been told. And I would say every 2 to 3 years, there's a new machine coming out on the market. And if we lease, we're automatically upgraded to that machine. Whereas if you buy, you're locked into that. So I think there's a benefit to leasing.
Alderman Clemmons.
Just to follow up on that same line of thought, and I'm assuming that we've never used one of these before in the city.
No, we have not used one of these in the city before. I have gathered a list of 23 schools, municipalities in the state of New Hampshire that use this currently. Bishop Girton being one of them. I believe they have 2 soccer fields. We have just about 25. And there are about over 60 municipalities using this in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay, great, yeah, so yeah, it definitely makes sense for us to lease it, and then if we find we're successful with it, we can look at other options down the line, so I agree with that too. Thank you.
Alderman
you.
Govea.
I do have one more question. Just typically talking about efficiency, how much time does it normally take for a crew to line a field compared to what this will do?
I don't want to break down timing to each individual field, but
Sure.
I would say in the spring season, it takes us a good 4 weeks to line all the soccer fields that are needed. And I would say come fall season, it's just about the same. It's very cumbersome, it's very time consuming. You're pulling string, you're making measurements. We'll try and mark corners throughout the winter when we don't have snow cover to keep those corners, but still, it's a very cumbersome and time-consuming process.
And how much do you think this will shorten that period of time?
Quite a bit. I would say it would cut it in half, and that would be a generous estimate.
Cut it in half, man. We need one person too. It's a no-brainer.
All right, anyone? Alderman Thibodeau.
So it sounds way more efficient. It sounds like it's gonna cut the time in half. What is the estimated cost savings by switching to this autonomous line painting system versus having a crew?
I haven't calculated that out, particularly, but you're talking about taking, like I said in the motion, we'll use 2 groups made up of 3 to 4 individuals, and that takes them 4 weeks. So I do believe there is a cost savings. I'm not gonna sit here, and give you that exact figure because I don't have it, but I believe there would be.
2 crews of 2 to 4 people? Is that what you said?
Yes, Mayor.
So if you
3
said
to
3
4
people for 2 weeks,
Right,
10 days, 30 work days,
right.
60 work days.
The machine easily pays for itself.
Yeah. So that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, but just to further on that line, it's not, you guys have plenty of work to do. It's not like, the way I look at a machine like this is, we're not looking to replace staff, we're looking to do the things that we can't get to now or we don't get to now. And so I think to me, that's where the opportunity lies, is to basically now we can have these folks do other things. So, I don't want people to think that their jobs are being replaced by machines either, so.
No, Alderman Clemmons, you couldn't have said that better. That's the exact point. This is gonna allow us to do, just more things, and be more detail orientated and just create better parks, because we'll have more time.
That's great,
This
thank
is
you.
the boring job.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase for trash and recycling toters in the amount not to exceed $145,000, funded from Solid Waste Fund 71 equipment. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of recycling and trash carts and cart lids for curbside collection with Toter Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $145,000. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste Fund 71 equipment.
And we have Mr. LaFleur on Zoom.
Yes, sir. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. This is my annual appropriation. I have this in my budget to help replace toters, recycling carts, and lids, anything that gets damaged throughout the year. As you know, our toters right now, curbside, are over 22 years old, so they're starting to get beaten up pretty hard, and we need to do some replacement. So this is the funding that I have.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are the toters at residential homes? Is that what these are?
Yes.
Okay. If I may continue, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, of course.
So if say, for instance, at my home, if I had to have it replaced, I would pay the $60 fee or whatever the current cost of replacement is. Is that correct?
Only if you damaged it or you burnt it or you had something melted. Normal wear and tear, we replace it.
Okay, so if for some reason it received a crack because we've been having one freezing after another, and it happens.
Yes.
The
Yep.
city would then in fact replace it at no cost to me, but if for some reason I was abusing it, left it out on the street time after time and something happened to it, then I would have to replace it and so on, correct?
Exactly. We investigate, when
Right.
cart needs to be replaced. So if it's neglect by the resident, yes, we charge them for the new toter. If it's just normal wear and tear, if our trucks do it by accident, then we replace it.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you clarified that because I've been really rough on my constituents. I keep telling them they got the first one for free, they have to pay for the next one. So I'm really a taskmaster. My poor constituents they're taking really good care of theirs. So. I hope they're listening. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question on this is looking at kind of the toter sales we've had in previous years. What are the trends? Are we selling more now? Are we selling less? Is it kind of stagnant?
It's pretty stagnant for the recycling toters. You know, but more and more people are seeing how easy it is to use and more convenient it is to use. So we do still sell, you know, probably 100 a month. It's going up there. A lot more of the city has them out there.
It's much more than I thought, actually. Over 100 a month, that's a lot more.
One.
Oh, I love it.
Alderman Thibodeau.
I thought it was interesting that it's an NTE and not a units. So I'm just curious, roughly how many units does this cover?
Well, great question. We don't, I mean, I'll buy a truckload, which is probably, you know, depending on the fossil fuels and everything, the cost of that, it's plastic, so that fluctuates quite often. We always try to keep about 1,000 in stock of recycling and about 1,000 of the trash toters in stock, just so if there's ever an issue curbside, like I said, most of the trash ones are 22 years old, so we're expecting something to fail pretty quickly here. They only gave us about a 20-year lifespan, so that's why I'm keeping so many in stock, and I keep this annual budget of $145,000 in case there is a major influx of broken toters.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a clarification. We still do charge for even the first recycle tote, correct?
The recycling carts are $60 a piece. We charge for all of those.
All of those?
Yes.
Regardless if they go with the smaller, the larger one? Because or do we still just only have one size now?
We have one size cart. If they can use more the 18-gallon totes, those are free. I mean, we give out two per resident, the 18-gallon totes. But the big wheeled carts are $60 a piece, and we charge for those.
May I?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it the regular residential totes that there are two different sizes?
We only have one size now. We kept it all, they're all 64-gallon toter, 96-gallon toters, I'm sorry. It keeps the commonality the same, all the wheels are the same, all the covers are the same. That's why we decided just to go with one size cart, just to have everything, you know, unified.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. LaFleur. That's it for you, right? Or are you gonna, no, you've got okay, you've got something else. All right.
Yes.
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2025 Ford F-550 pickup truck in the amount of $58,877, funded from SURF/81 Capital Outlay Improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-550 regular cab four-wheel drive pickup truck from Grappone Ford in the amount of $58,877. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund SURF 81 Capital Outlay Improvements.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This is a scheduled SURF purchase for the Park Department. This is just for the cab and chassis. There'll be an upfit package and another motion for the components and the snow package after this. The truck is being scheduled on this SURF purchase due to corrosion. The Parks Department is we've actually taken 4 units out of service already this year, so this is very much needed for them. They only have 2 units going for this fiscal year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this scheduled purchase.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have and I was looking at this earlier, I have the SURF schedule pulled up. I see 2 Ford F-350s. I don't see anything about the F-550s on our SURF schedule.
Yes. We opted to upgrade from the F-350 to the F-550 for a heavier duty package for more towing capability. And one of these units is actually going to be upfitted with a mini wing for the inner city. So that would be the difference of going from the F-350 to the F-550.
What is if I can?
Yeah.
What's the price difference on that? Is that within where we wanted to be?
It's
as scheduled
still,
in SURF,
yes,
or-
both of them are still within what we had budgeted. One of them is actually way under the SURF budget. One of them was a tad bit over, but still under that 10% mark, so they kind of wash each other out. What we were trying to accomplish with this was just have some more functionality and have a truck that's more universal in the fleet that we could use for tree removal in the, you know, in the non-winter season, and accept that extra mini wing on the side of the truck to clear the roads a little bit better. So we're trying to build a little bit more functionality into our equipment so that we can use it across the board in any way we need.
Awesome. As long as we're staying within our SURF schedule. Sounds great.
It's challenging sometimes.
Of course.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 2025 Ford F-550 uplift package in the amount of $72,700, funded from SURF/81 capital outlay improvements. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one F-550 flatbed dump body and snow plow package from Viking Civics in the amount of $72,700. Funding will be through Department 177, Parks Fund SURF/81 capital outlay improvements.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. So this is the upfit package for the chassis that we just approved. Again, it's a little different than the F-350 package that was put together previously. This is a flatbed package which has universal sides, so it has drop-down sides. So it could be used as a dump truck, it could be used as a flatbed truck to accept pallets, but it also has that dumping functionality, and it will also accept the sander, which is a little bit different than the F-350 we currently have. So we're adding another sander to the snow fighter fleet. And happy to answer any questions you have
Alderman Govea.
on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the current F-350s, and I'm sorry if you said this, trade-in, are we using them for something else, or are they just,
Two of them were taken out of service and auctioned off already. These two vehicles are still currently on the road. There is a lead time for these packages of 6 to 13 months, so we're hoping that the trucks come in before we remove them from service, and have to put a bunch of money in them to keep them on the road for the following season. We do try to trade in when we can, but sometimes the dealers just don't want to deal with that, and we wind up sending them to auction. But we do have some new vendors that are going to entertain that for next year's scheduled surf, so hopefully we can kind of keep those numbers down. That'll help keep the numbers down.
what a lead time?
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, given that lead time, are these prices locked in for certain?
Yes. I actually confirmed that with all the motions here tonight with the vendor just before I came. There was a concern about tariffs and things like that. So most of this stuff tonight is made in the United States.
Okay.
Some of these upfit packages do come from Canada, but I'm told that it's going to be a very marginal increase if it does happen. But this particular company, Viking Civics, that we use, they're pretty good about keeping their prices locked in and not raising them and taking that hit. So they said that they weren't sure, but they were going to try to hold the pricing that is before you tonight.
Okay. Just one follow-up. I
Yeah.
appreciate you anticipating that question. Because I think with the way, the world we live in today, I think it's a question that's probably going to come up quite often, so I appreciate that.
We're trying to stay on top of those things.
Of course, of course.
Alderwoman Clee.
Just a quick concern on that, and I don't know if there's someone who can answer that. If they can't hold the line to that, meaning that if push comes to shove and it comes down to the bottom line and the tariffs come in and there's a 25% and so on. I know in good faith they're saying that they would be able to and so on. Perhaps the mayor would be able to answer, would this have to come back here for additional funding, or how would something like that happen? Because I wouldn't want to stop this from going through. And I know when I was up in the State House, there was a hardship clause, even if they guarantee us this, if we put them at a hardship, we still have to, whenever we do the guaranteed price kind of thing, if something causes a hardship for them, we can renegotiate.
So how it was explained to me over the phone with this particular vendor for this package that we're on right now, 80% of this is made in the United States, so the tariff would only apply to like 20% of this package. So that number would probably be pretty insignificant, maybe even by only a few $100s, not even going into the thousands.
Okay, thank you.
The way that
answers
it was
my question.
explained to me tonight.
That's perfect.
That's
answer.
the best I can answer for it.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious to know, how many F-550s do we have on hand right now? There's 2 on this agenda that you requesting, so are we going to come again in the next,
So in the city as a whole, like
Yes.
every department, we have about 9.
9?
Some of those are bucket trucks for traffic, so they're not all of them have snow plows, but I think the answer you're looking for is probably 9.
Mayor?
Yes.
And do you know the ages, or they're some?
I don't have specifics. They're spread out probably over a 6 to 10 year span. I think the oldest one we have is a 2012, and I believe that's a CNG.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with plow package in the amount of $264,619, funded from SURF 81 capital outlay improvements. I'm going to make a motion to place on file and approve the purchase of one 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with body and snow fighter package from Viking Civis in the amount of $264,619. Funding will be through Department 177, Parks Fund, SURF 81 capital outlay improvements.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This is a 6-wheeled dump truck with snow fighter package. This is for the Park Department, and it will be replacing an older unit, which will be moved to the back line. The lead time on this truck is 6 to 14 months for the chassis, with an additional 4 to 8 months for the upfit package. Happy to answer any questions you have on this scheduled SURF purchase.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, it looks like there's several of these on the agenda, which I noticed, but I guess my question is, why are they separate motions? And
This particular package is different than the other
Okay.
4 that are on there.
Okay. So they-
This one doesn't have a brine package because it's a Park Department truck. So that's really the biggest difference in price and the unit. It also has higher sides compared to the street department trucks. As far as why there is 4 separate motions for the street department, those 4 are exactly the same. I'm not sure why they did that this time. I don't really have an answer for that. I was kind of curious myself, to be honest.
Okay.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So comparing this to, obviously, our SURF plan, if I see it right, we had $494,207 down as the price, and this is showing about half of that at $264. Is that correct?
Correct.
Pretty good.
We anticipated this truck to accept brine, so the SURF number that was in there was put to accept a brine truck. But where this truck is being put, we opted not to put brine in it, so we were able to save a little bit of money, which I know we all like to do. So we opted not to put it in there, so that way we didn't just put it in there for something that we're not going to use.
Follow.
Yeah.
So does that still maintain, I think it says a 10-year lifespan on it?
Yeah, 7 to 10 years is about the lifespan. We evaluate, sometimes we do push surf purchases off. We typically do that with street sweepers. Sometimes we do it with trucks and equipment. You know, we'll evaluate the fleet and go through. If we can push it off another year, then we would just push it off for the following year to reevaluate again until it comes up.
So having the different trim package doesn't really change the lifespan in this case?
Not really. We try to do a lot of stainless because of the corrosion from the salt and especially the brine. So we try to upfit while trying to stay within the budget that we have for surf, to try to do as much anti-corrosion as possible so that we can keep the vehicle in service longer. Kind of a little off topic, but we've also kind of instilled an undercoating program with our fleet to try to help mitigate some of that corrosion. It's going to take, you know, a few years for that to start to see the effect of the fleet, but we are trying to do anti-corrosion measures to try to push some of these purchases out a little further.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication, again from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 2025 Ford F-550 pickup truck in the amount of $61,870, funded from SURF 81 capital outlay improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-550 crew cab four-wheel drive pickup truck from Grappone Ford in the amount of $61,870. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund SURF 81 capital outlay improvements.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. Similar to the other F-550 that was in the first motion, this will be replacing an F-350 chassis. Again, it's just a more robust truck, able to have more towing capability. It's a dual-wheeled truck, so it allows us to put a bigger service body on it. This particular truck will be getting a service body, which they use for irrigation in the parks. It's also a crew cab, so it's a people mover as well. And it will be upfitted with a snowplow package, but no sander because it's a service body, so it's made to have like irrigation tools, painting tools, you know, things for park maintenance, you know, swing sets, things like that in there. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this package.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the plow package on a truck like this, where are these trucks plowing?
They usually, these particular trucks do the inner city streets.
Gotcha.
They'll also do parks, and they also assist with schools.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 2025 Ford F-550 uplift package in the amount of $32,200, funding from SURF 81 capital outlay improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one F-550 upfit service body and snowplow package from Viking Civics in the amount of $32,200. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund SURF 81 capital outlay improvements.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. So this is the upfit package for the chassis that we just approved. It's a service body package. Like we said, it's going to hold tooling to maintain all the parks. It'll be upfitted with a snowplow package and light package for that. It's a pretty universal truck because the body is bigger than the one that they currently have, so they're able to store more equipment on it. So they'll get a little bit more versatility out of that as well. Happy to answer any questions you have on the upfit package.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with plow package in the amount of $291,419, funded from SURF 81 capital outlay improvements. I'll make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with body and snow fighter package from Viking Civics in the amount of $291,419. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets Fund SURF 81 capital outlay improvements.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. So this purchase is for the street department. These trucks that they will be replacing will be moved to the back line. There is also 4 or 5 vehicles that will be removed from service in the upcoming months once these trucks start arriving in. They will be upfitted with brine as well as anti-ice units, a snowplow package, wing package. They'll also have high side bodies to do street projects and infrastructure repairs throughout the year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this. And this will be the same for the next 4 trucks. So I don't know if I need to speak to all of them, I will, but the answer will be the same for all 4.
Is it possible to combine them? and give one
Yes,
price?
would the maker of the motion agree to combine the motion to include the next 4 items?
Yeah.
All right, so the motion is to approve the last 4 communications on the agenda, all of which involve 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with plow package, all in the same amount of $291,419. Any questions, discussion?
A total of $1,165,676.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that?
I didn't do the math, but I assume you're correct.
So,
Yes, Alderman Clemens.
so is that why it was broken up?
I don't know why it was broken up.
Because if it's over $1
Yes.
million, then it
Yes.
has to go to the Board of Aldermen.
Yes.
That's why.
Oh, that's-
So do we
But-
want to take these up individually?
But I don't know, because
Well,
I
they're
think
still
that
separate items. I don't know.
they are, but I think, I don't want to get, I'm getting philosophical here, but I feel like this is going around what our process should be. Because it's it's the same, it's not like you're getting it from 2 different vendors, the same truck from 2 different vendors, or,
But it is 4 items. I mean, I don't care if you want to send it to the Board of Aldermen, we can, but
well,
it
I
is-
think the motion you just made
Would trigger that.
will trigger that. And
well, I would say not necessarily, but you want to vote separately?
I mean, if you want to be safe than sorry, maybe we should. You just said ditto, 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 kind of
It's
thing.
quicker just to vote than to discuss this for 10 minutes. Yes, Alderman Clemens.
Yeah, no, I want to do one motion, but I feel that this should go to the Board of Aldermen, because it's I mean, do we have, Mr. Ard is here, correct?
Mr. Who?
Mr. Gerard, that's
Mr.
what I was
Gerard.
Yes.
just going to ask
Yeah.
her to come to the, yeah.
Do you think this, or can you explain the 4-item issue?
Yeah, the Department of.
And this
Public-
is Amy Gerard.
Yes,
You hear
thank
her
you.
name all the time, but she's like
Yes.
behind the curtain kind of thing. You never really see her, but here she appears, so.
Yes.
Yes, please explain.
Thank you, Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. The Department of Public Works wanted it as 4 separate motions because it is 4 separate vehicles. I am happy to do the additional paperwork to refer to the Board of Aldermen if you would like to make it one motion, however the board would like to proceed.
Alderman Clemens.
Is it 4 separate, and this is a very technical question, but is it 4 separate contracts? Meaning, I understand that we'll often see, like, from Grapponi, for example, we'll order like 4 police cars or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So is this 4 separate contracts?
This, the way it was quoted was individually.
Okay, so this truly was 4 individual contracts from
Correct.
this one
Vendor,
vendor?
yes.
Okay, makes sense to me, and so I just wanted that for clarification.
Absolutely, happy to clarify.
Thank you.
All right.
So,
What do you, so,
with that said,
what is your pleasure?
I am okay with moving this forward as one motion and not having it go to the Board of Aldermen.
All right, so right now it's combined as a single motion to approve 4 separate contracts, 4 separate purchases. Any further discussion?
One question. So are we going to move it as one motion, but each vehicle at 291?
Yes,
Okay, all right, instead of combining them one total, so.
yes.
Okay, great.
They
All right.
are laid out separately on the SURF list too, so they are actual individual purchases. We get billed individually when they get built,
Okay.
because they don't all show up at the same time either. I mean, one might show up 18 months, one might show up a little later than that or a little before, so they are
Yep,
separate. I don't know if that helps, but.
it does.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and thank you very much, Mr. Rush.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
New business resolutions, we don't have anything. Ordinances, we don't have anything. Tabled in committee, R25-123, is there a motion to remove this from the table?
So moved. I'll make a motion to
There's,
remove.
Yes,
Alderman Thibodeau.
I don't know if this, was the last vote to yes vote the combining or to approve?
to approve because the maker of the
I didn't know if
motion.
it needed to be two different things,
No.
like one to
I just
combine, one to.
amended my own emotion,
Okay.
my own
All right,
motion.
thank you.
All right, so we're at R25-123,
It gets confusing, yes.
which is been tabled. Is there a motion to remove this from the table?
So move, I'll move, we remove R-25-123 from the table.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, R25-123 is now before us. Alderman Govea.
I'll make a motion to recommend final passage.
You've heard the motion. Now, Mr. Cummings is here to explain this. He's on Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. If it's acceptable to on the committee, I was going to speak to both resolutions now as they're essentially the same, substantively the same in what we endeavor to do. But there's two separate resolutions because they amend two separate legal documents.
And may I interrupt just for a second? We can hear you, but you're pretty faint, so if you could turn up your volume, that would be good. If that, or
Certainly, can you hear me now?
it's a little better, yes.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me better now. So I was just saying I was going to share screen because I believe this visual will help bolster or illustrate the substance of the two pieces of legislation before you this evening. 123 amends the lease agreement, and 124 amends the master development agreement. These amendments essentially expand the area of what is contemplated in these legal documents. And this is housekeeping in nature. This is not time sensitive, but it's something as we were cleaning up and trying to dot our i's and cross the t's, as we wrap this project up, we wanted to get these documents amended. What the colored areas show, and as my arrow is highlighting, these are the areas that are now going to be incorporated into the legal agreements, and basically they are going to be maintained by the developer of the apartments. And we just wanted to make sure that that was clear and everyone was aware that the sidewalk and then the alley will be maintained by the developer as contemplated originally when we did the project. The paperwork is just following along. You asked why is the area expanded out into the right-of-way beyond the sidewalk. That was because when it was under construction, this area changed and was under construction. And when the paperwork was developed at the time, it was contemplated that we would use that language in this document to allow that to happen. What actually did occur was through a right-of-way access agreement, some of the construction that occurred in the right-of-way was handled through that permit. But since the project is now completed, that permit is no longer necessary. We just need to put these legal documents and wording in I should say, put the wording in these legal documents so we're in good working order. So that's essentially what this two resolutions do.
All right, any questions? Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, so in these documents, they have to maintain these as right-of-way access to all members of the public. They can't restrict this to just their tenants, correct?
Correct. All this really does is makes it explicit that this area highlighted that I previously showed is going to be maintained by an entity other than the city. Snow removal, clearing of the sidewalk, repairing if any damage occurs will be on the developer.
Right, but
Yeah, go
these are
ahead.
to remain public ways.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And what does the so-called alley have a name or not? Do you have any idea?
So I'm going to go back and share my screen if you'd like. Please bear with me. It is referenced in the documents, is I believe lot right here, and I believe it's referred to as lot 130 or something to that effect. But it's referenced as the alley on the easterly way.
So at least at this point, it doesn't have like a street name or anything like that.
No, it does not. It's just referenced.
Maybe we should
as
think
the
about that. Alderwoman
alley
Clee.
to the east.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fact that they have to maintain it and so on, is there a liability, meaning that if it isn't taken care of or if anybody is hurt, is it considered their property and they would be, or is the city liable for anybody being hurt and having to pay any kind of damages?
The city would not be liable.
The city would not be liable, so they would be liable for any damages that a private person would. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Quite all right, Mayor.
Alderwoman
I
Clemens,
just
that
have
was
one-
quite a slip there. Alderwoman Timmons.
I do have one question. I don't want to sound too naive, but I don't even know where this property is located.
This is the High Street. This is High Street.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and R 25-123 is recommended for final passage. We now have R 25-124. Is there a motion to take this one from the table?
So moved. I'll move that we remove R-25-124 from the table.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We now have R 25-124 before us. Alderman Govea.
Make a motion to recommend final passage.
You've heard the motion. Mr. Cummings, Mr. Timmons, so it was Alderwoman Clemens. Now it's Mr. Timmons.
It's been a long night.
All right. Mr. Cummings, do you have anything further to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and R 25-124 is recommended for final passage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Record of expenditures, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from January 17, 2025 to January 30, 2025.
Any discussion?
I do have one thing on the record.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I was going through the record of expenditures, and it was on like the 5th page, saw a expenditure for $75,950.21 to the NPAC Corporation. I talked with Director Cummings as well as CFO Griffin today. They both got snap responses back to me. It was great. And that comes out to be just a tax payment, so the money goes to them and then comes back to us. So I guess my one question on that, does that just go into the general fund, or is that money pointed towards something else?
Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. Yes, that goes straight to the general fund. So that is a tax payment that is made, and it goes in regular taxes being paid.
It does?
Well, isn't there a TIF
I
there?
thought there was a TIF.
TIF, yeah.
Well, I apologize, yes. So it does go into the TIF account. The increment would go into the TIF, not the base taxes.
Right.
Whatever that may be.
Okay.
So, so to be clear, before we built the Performing Arts Center, there was one parcel that held a department store that had a certain valuation to it. Those base taxes would go to the general fund, and the increment above would technically go to the School Street TIF.
All right, anyone? All those in favor of the motion, which is to approve the record of expenditures, correct? Yep. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we have general discussion. Is there any general discussion? We'll go to public comment. No member of the public is here, so I don't think we're going to see any comment. Remarks by Alderman. Any remarks by Alderman? Okay. So in the absence of any remarks, I will look over to Alderwoman Clemmons, no, Alderwoman Clee.
Usually I get Kelly, that's the one.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes, so the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 8:10 PM.